Oh shit, ladies and gentlemen. What in the flying fuck are we doing today? Today is episode 92. I, of course, am your boy MT. It's really great to have you guys listening in. This is Intergalactic interviews, and what can I say? We've had some really cool guests before, but this particular guest is one we've had circled on the calendar for a little while. Before we get to that, though, I just want to give you a little bit of piece of news, some opportunities, a real cool thing you can try out. If you want to go to the Lower Mainland right now in Vancouver, British Columbia, or maybe you're experiencing some kind of travel value and you want to come out and check this out at any point in time, you are more than welcome to come check out the premier isolation tank experience in Vancouver, and that is here at Float House. If you go to floathouse.ca right now, use our podcast promo code IIPodcast, that's going to get you 20% off. 20% off your next float for you to experience a serene, relaxing experience of just totally chill vibes. First of all, I can't even really explain beyond your own personal experience, but it's pretty much like a spa for your mind. If you want to think about it in a way that it helps you rejuvenate, it's for everyone out there. It's for all walks of life. I float. These guys float. You should float. You should try it out. It's one of the best things you could do for yourself. Make an investment. Make yourself better for tomorrow. And if you want to do that, again, use our podcast promo code IIPodcast. That'll get you 20% off your next float. And you want to go to floathouse.ca. God damn, motherfuckers. Here we are. And what can I say? I'm here with a man, many slashes to his name. He's one of my favorite battle rappers of all time. One of my favorite podcasts out there. He's a podcast host, battle rapper, comedian. He's a great writer. Ladies and gentlemen, please give it up for the illustrious Dirtbag Dan.
The Zay, baby. Rah.
Rah. Rah. That was the most toned down the Zay.
I didn't want it. The mic looks so nice.
It's okay.
We're in the most chill.
You got a pop filter though. You got to pop. You can't hurt it.
Oh, I know.
Much.
I'm gonna pop. I'm gonna pop all over this pussy.
Yeah.
No, but this whole place is so chill. I
very
feel like
chill.
Super out of place being like the Zay, baby.
That's okay. Yeah, we had a pretty epic rants last week about the DC Superman, Batman movies.
Oh, okay.
Our guest just went off on it.
Just was screaming.
Yeah,
and shit.
and I was like, this is a spa. This is a spa, by the way.
Yeah,
It's
hey,
good though.
yeah.
I kind of like when we get a little aggressive in here.
He does.
It sends a message.
We should mention that Saavedra, our boy Saavedra's not here today. But what can I say?
But his jacket and bag are here. So.
Yeah, we'll just say this appropriates
In lieu
him.
of.
Yeah,
In
I'll
lieu
move
of.
this around.
Good
Yeah,
man.
That fits him. Yeah.
Quiet. I like that in a person.
Good listener.
Mr. Dan.
Yes.
Yeah. Dirtbag Dan, you are in the midst of a tour right now.
Yeah.
You're on tour with Kung Fu Vampire.
Yes, good friend of mine. Had an opportunity to tour with him in 2014 in the States, and this is kind of a continuation of that tour in Canada. Minus Recognize, who went out with us the first time, who is also the homie, via battle rap and other things. But really,
way back, yeah.
Oh, from way back, yeah.
Definitely.
He was one of the guys who, when I was coming up in the freestyle battle stuff, I was looking at yo, that's the man.
What's the name of this tour? Look Alive?
This is the Look Alive tour, which is the name of Kung Fu Vampire's album, which I believe drops on July 9th.
July 9th, worldwide.
Bang, bang, bang.
Through all the
KungFuVampire.com.
all the usual suspects, I imagine, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And this is a tour for his album, but since he was coming to Canada, he was like, I got to take Dan, because I told him, I was like, I'm out here all the time for King of the Dot, but I never get to stop at any of the places in between Vancouver and Toronto. You know what I mean? So it'll be really cool to kind of dip into these small spots Grand Bend, Ontario, and you know what I mean? Where's that?
Thunder Bay.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Dude, we'll hit up, I'm with that. I think that's going to be super cool.
Yeah. I'm from a small town in Ontario, in northwestern Ontario. You'll definitely pass through it.
Dope. I'm in.
No, why would you go through Kenora? It doesn't make any sense.
No, I mean you won't play. You won't. Not,
I thought
you
you
will
were
not perform in there.
But there's one road, and it goes down that.
You
way.
have to inevitably cruise.
If
by.
South Park has taught us anything, yeah, there's just one road. Follow the only road. Okay, so let me just get into this. I know we got a little bit of time here. Because,
yeah, we're good, man. Where do we even start?
Where do we start?
I am playing a show tonight, but it's this is that we were just talking about. This is that period where cats are just lining up out front,
yes.
And then my merch is all set up and everything. And as far as sound checks concerned, I did the last sound check of this whole tour last night. Like, I'm not sound checking anymore because all I got to do is make sure the beat is on, and then does the microphone work? Cool, because it's gonna get changed throughout the night anyway. So it's like, why even worry about it?
Do you have someone spinning with you this tour?
What
is itchy with you? Like,
no,
like,
well, it's just me on stage, yeah.
So
and this is how I did the last tour with Kung Fu Vampire 2. Kung Fu rolls with
I like that.
Chris Paxton, who is an amazing drummer. He's also the sound engineer for Twisted. He recorded Krayshawn's Gucci. Like, he does a whole bunch of like weird, like he's a very like accredited individual, and he's actually the guy who recorded my whole last album and mixed it and did all the engineering.
He engineered the Dirtbag Dan LP.
Yeah, the DBD LP.
Yeah.
So he has like he can handle me. Basically he sets me up on his pad to where I can just run up and press the button and a song starts. So he's got me covered basically as far as like that aspect of it. But I do have to pare down my performance because when I am with Itchy the Killer, who's like a world-class DJ, I could just be like, Itchy, get him, and then drink some water while he.
Speaking of which, I think my favorite cut off that album is "Fuck That."
That's how I start the sets.
Yeah? That was
Yeah.
my next question. Was where do you slot that in?
Fuck that first.
First,
Yeah,
just
right
get
off
them
the
going
bat.
right away.
Yo, there were children in the audience in Port Townsend. I was like, all right. I was like, you brought them here.
You're a mistake.
And then I'm like, okay. I'm all worried. I'm like, I should skip. Fuck that. I'll go to the next one. And the next song is Concentrate. And the way I introduce that song every time is I go, this song is about smoking concentrated marijuana. So it's like, really like, we're damaging the kids, basically. Let's just start with Fuck That.
Yeah, I like it a lot. Actually, the first time I heard it was I was in Vegas, and I saw you release the video, and it's like put something on in the fucking hotel room, and I was like, all right, boom, I threw that on, and I was like, this is fucking dope. I like this shit. I like it a lot.
That video was directed by Rory Campbell, who's the producer of the Dirtbag Dan show, who last week won his 3rd Emmy.
Emmy, that's right. Yeah.
Wow.
He's a production. I guess he's the head of production now at NBC locally in the South Bay. So it's a local Emmy, guys. It's not he's not like accepting the award next to Leonardo or anything, but it's
Like in The Simpsons when they're like, oh, it's a Grammy.
yeah, and then throw it in the pile. Yeah. No, but it's dope, man, and it's crazy that we have him like he goes from doing that like serious ass news shit and then he goes home and edits Fuck That.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Well, that's dope though. That's a real cool versatile function, which speaks a lot to the people you surround yourself with. You do have a lot of versatility around you, like you yourself. I mentioned in the intro, you have so many slashes to your name, like.
Yeah,
you
didn't say just regular rapper because that's what I'm doing tonight. You also didn't say stay-at-home dad for 2 beautiful cats, which I also am.
I also have 2 cats.
Purr.
What are your cats' names?
They're not both Alex, I hope.
No, no,
Because MDs are.
Yeah.
Yo, that's retarded.
Yeah, that is. Yeah, they're
in the best way, but
yeah.
The
how
one
do you
is
know
Alexander
which one
the
that you're
best.
yelling? I guess it doesn't matter because they both like come and do dumb shit at the same time. I have one that's named Moo who's like awesome. He's like an older guy. He's the type of cat who like when we would go for walks, he would just walk down the street with us and follow us,
nice.
Outside,
And then, outside. He's a monster. And then we have another cat named Deuce, who I think is he's like touched.
Yeah.
And he definitely
Classic
like
cat
he
thing.
shits places so awkwardly, and his name is Deuce. So I feel like it's my fault.
You
His
set
name
him
is-
up.
Did you name him before you discovered this
Oh no,
trait?
yeah, no, it's totally my fault.
Oh,
I named
okay.
him Deuce, and then he drops
Yeah,
deuces
all
for me
right.
all over the place. Don't name your pets anything like pissy or shitty.
Yeah.
because
Pissy.
They will
good advice.
They will adopt that moniker
Here,
into
pissy,
their
pissy,
mantra.
pissy. Yeah, like c-mart brought up earlier, I have 2 cats. I have like a Maine Coon. You ever seen Maine Coons? Yeah.
Yeah, the big fuckers with the
Yeah.
little pointy things.
They
in
are
their
big
ears.
cats that he has.
He's like 26 pounds,
Yikes.
giant fucking cat.
Yikes.
He gets brought up on the show inadvertently all the time, so
Yeah.
I don't want to
It happens,
bore
bro.
people. Yeah.
Yo, they were making fun of me hella because one time when we used to have the show connected to my phone, my wife texted me that the cat pissed on the bed and it popped up on the
on
screen.
the screen behind you.
Yeah, and then everybody was like, "Oh, your cat pissed on the bed," and then it's like, I don't have no control
thing.
over what happens on my own podcast. So basically, like, it just became like a 30-minute roasting session about my cat
Sure.
peeing on the bed.
That's actually one of
Not
the things.
Deuce, though.
Yeah, not Deuce.
No,
No,
it
he
was
shits in the bed.
No, it was totally Deuce.
Oh, typical.
Fuma would never do that shit.
Typical Deuce right there. Actually, it's one of the
Classic
fucking
Deuce
favorite
move.
things I like about the podcast with the Dirtbag Dan show is that
My friends are dicks.
yeah, like you guys like
key
it's so tolerantly intolerant. It's one of my favorite things ever to watch. It's like Caustic actually might be one of my favorite active battlers period right now.
He's
so
a terrible person. And that's the thing about all that shit like that. It's so we're doing just what we do all the time. The whole reason the podcast even exists is because Roy was just like, "Yo, we should just film you guys because this is all we do is we just roast each other and talk about whatever dumb shit we're talking about. We just had to focus it, but it's hard to hang out with us. Like I've had people be like, "Yo, chill out. Like, you can't just be making fun of me like this." And I'm like, "Yo, I'm sorry. My friends are dicks, and we just all day do this shit." So it's cool, actually, like, being on this tour with Kung Fu, who's, like, the super, like, Zen master. Like, I get an opportunity to, like, separate myself from, like, all this negativity that fuels my life at home.
turn your third eye around, look at it, you're like,
Oh,
hey,
yeah.
listen, if there's ever a spot for you to do that right now here at Float House.
Yeah, this is zen as
Yo,
shit.
this
Zen
is the
block.
zeniest fucking studio ever.
You
I'm
haven't even
super
walked
jelly
around, like,
beans.
you go to the bathroom, it's just like, you
Yeah,
can hear
it's
them,
true.
they pipe through, I don't know if you can hear right now.
Yeah, I can hear it.
There's, like, gentle
I'm
music.
watching these kangaroos lick their own paws and shit.
Antelopes and kangaroos
This shit
and
is-
shit. Yeah.
This shit is dazzling. I told you I had to come back on mushrooms.
Yeah. So have you floated before?
No, I have not.
Never floated before?
No, man.
Wish I could have got you in here earlier.
No, you know what, man? These tours are like brutal on our bodies. Like we get out of the van and then we
would be
start
ideal.
loading shit up, and then I meet you out front and I walk down the street.
That
and
was
do a
it, yeah.
podcast. And this is like the most relaxing my night's gonna get.
Have you had dinner yet?
Yeah, we ate. We ate.
Oh, okay.
We stopped at White Spot.
Classic.
Oh, yeah.
I was
Classic.
uncomfortable with the name just because we're already on a hip hop tour that,
Is it
that there aren't any
is
black
White
folks
Spot
in the van, and
Canadian?
I'm like, come on, man, we can't go to White Spot.
Yeah.
What's next?
Yeah.
We're gonna go to Clan Spaghetti after this.
Yeah, that's weird. That
Plan Rev.
that restaurant apparently started in weird ways too. Like apparently a guy just started bringing food to people at the beach.
Yeah,
And
but
then,
only white people.
Only white people.
Sure, yeah. Well, you can't afford to be at the beach
Well,
otherwise.
yeah. First of
Apparently.
all, it was a segregated
what a
beach.
dick,
yeah,
man.
so
I'm
yeah.
supporting this business.
It was weird though. But yeah, did you get the O burger? Triple
No,
O
I
burger?
got a chicken pot pie, and everybody looked at me.
Oh,
weird.
nice. That's a decent move.
But I was watching the Sharks, and I needed something
Ooh.
hearty.
Let's talk about this. So right now, the Sharks are in the Stanley Cup final. You are a true San Jose Sharks fan, and I have to say, for the
Captain.
several years since I met you, I can say that I have seen you with them thick and thin.
Yeah.
You are a diehard Sharks fan.
Yeah.
And
Well, it's funny because, like, as a Sharks fan, like, there's no fair weather. That's the only team we have. And you'll just be like, some years, you'll just be like, man, they suck. But you're still in a jersey. You know what I mean? Like, you're still at the game. Like, God,
But you
these
know, like
fools
any other-
every year break my heart. But then, this year, it's been fantastic. Of course, I have to be, like, out of the country when they finally,
Yeah.
take it to the next level. But, hey, it's okay. I get to enjoy hockey with Canadians.
I was
You
telling-
get multiple teams per state, though.
Yeah, but we don't have San Jose doesn't have any. It's 1 million people live in that city. It's the 10th largest city in America, 3rd largest in California. The only sports team we have is the Sharks. I guess we have the Earthquakes, which
you
is
do.
like a
Oh, okay.
Fucking cares.
Yo, okay.
Nobody cares.
That's
bro.
so-
This ain't Seattle, bro. We don't care about. We don't pretend to care about soccer because it's the hip thing to do.
Fair enough.
Nah, we don't do that shit.
That's so funny. Like in Vancouver here, the Whitecaps
Yeah.
are like the only truly winning team.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
doing anything right now, right? So,
Dude, the Earthquakes were winning for years and nobody gave a fuck.
yeah,
It's the whole thing. They're like winning the MLS championship. They didn't even have a stadium, bro. Nobody cares.
That's fucking funny.
Yeah, they just built their stadium like last year, and I don't go there. It's not like I say, hey man, I grew up in the States, and hockey we just latched onto real fast because it was like, yo, we got a professional sports team. It's San Jose. It's the Sharks.
You guys
like,
have one of the
it's a good-
coolest
yeah,
logos.
it's great.
ever.
One of the coolest logos I think ever in any sport, actually, which is really cool.
Yeah, I think what they said is that they tried to fight it originally. The NHL, they didn't want it to be the Sharks. They didn't like the idea of like one team just having the most badass. Like it didn't fit the motif of like what the other teams were named after and like how the other teams got their names. They were just like, no, you rich guys are just picking the best animal ever to build it. That's kind of dick. But
Some noted killer.
Yeah.
But they did. They were the vote whatever went through, and that year the Sharks jersey, hat, all that was the highest selling NHL thing of any other.
Of course.
You know what I mean? So
Has there ever been, and I don't think this has ever been the case, but has there ever been two teams that had sticks featured in their logos in the finals facing each other? Because the Penguins are like holding a stick,
that's a
right?
stick and a stick. I don't know. Don't the Ducks have like the stick behind their thing too?
Oh, yeah.
Like even the
Maybe, like,
Vancouver,
their
the
third.
old Vancouver logo has.
Oh, the Johnny Hockey
Not that they
one.
ever made it to a final.
Johnny
but-
Hockey.
Yeah.
See, I'm a Habs fan.
Okay.
So
that sucks.
Troubled times.
Rough for you.
Usually this is me looking down my nose on Sharks fans, but you're right. You're doing
just man. I'm enjoying it while it lasts.
But why do the
Just,
Sharks hate the stick so much? They're biting it in half. They don't even respect the game. Like,
Nah.
what's that about? They're just like destroying.
That's like the whole metaphor. It's just like rich Silicon Valley money. We're just like we're just gonna buy the best Canadians and bite the stick.
That's right. Yeah, you guys got oh, by the way, big fucking shout out right now to Joe Thornton's beard.
Oh, it's
Holy
beautiful.
mother of
The beards
With
on
white
all the teams
strip,
are
with
insane.
he's got like the Gandalf,
Yeah.
just one single
Yeah. I
saw
strip
that
down the
today.
middle.
He has the look to me in the east one strip.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah, he's for real, man. He is for real.
That's fucking
on
awesome.
a white horse.
But Sharks, like this is gonna come out in like I'd say the next 24, 48 hours, depending on when I can edit it. So Sharks are alive right now.
Yeah, they forced a game 6 in San Jose, which I think lends itself to the great possibility of a game 7, which I think is the best thing for everybody who's an NHL fan.
I think so too, and like that's the thing. When it comes to the sport, is like I'm just a fucking fan of the sport. For instance,
good game.
I'm also a huge fucking fan of MMA. People are like, oh, you like UFC? I'm like, no, I don't actually like UFC. I like MMA. I like fighters in the UFC.
Bro, I have the
I showed a contingent of good people I watch MMA with all the time. I showed that thing you shared today of Robbie Lawler.
Oh, so great.
Just
right?
how badass Robbie Lawler is
great.
talking about McGregor and like.
And I
his
remember
soul.
watching Robbie Lawler get knocked out by
You were Strikeforce cards,
by
right?
Nick Diaz.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
But Strikeforce cards for sure. But I grew up on MMA. Like we had the black box when I was a kid, which is basically like the little cable thing that lets you steal whatever channel. You know what I mean? So like, not only was I like unrestricted watching porno at way too young of an age, but we like when those first
shitty porno.
just like the blowjobs with just the eyes up and shit. It's like man. I'm really attracted to girls looking at me while they're blowing me now.
Yeah.
I don't even need to see my dong. I just need to see the eyes. But
Much more emotional.
that is funny. But the UFC shit, we would get the advertisement for, and I remember the first one being like, "Oh, I'm watching this shit."
Big
and then
time.
Keith Hackney kicked the sumo in the face, and his tooth popped out of his
That's
mouth,
right,
and I was like, "This shit is real, bro." Wrestling dead for me that day. I was like, I can't watch this shit anymore. This sumo got his tooth kicked out, and then the Brazilian guy lays on his back for 45 minutes, and the other guy just taps. I'm done. I don't understand life anymore.
Yeah, I remember watching Maurice Smith. And and I remember I used to work at a video store, and
that's where a lot of people got it.
yeah, when I worked there, they were like, you can rent out as many videos as you want. So I was like, boom, just
UFC
cleared the
1,
shelf.
2, 3, 4. A lot of people that I know, like their first introduction to UFC was like right next to like the faces of death in the video, in like the
Early
weird
internet,
section, and it wasn't even like Blockbuster wouldn't even carry it at that point. It had to be like a mom and pa video store,
right, yeah.
and they would get the UFC, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then eventually. Like, I remember when Zuffa bought it. I remember watching every episode of The Ultimate Fighter as it came out the first season.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm definitely like a true fan of MMA. I remember staying up to watch the last Pride event at a New Year's like Japanese time, so it was like it didn't go live until like 3 a.m. or some shit like that.
Yeah, that's right.
And it was the one where Dan Henderson knocked out Vanderlei Silva for the middleweight championship, and that's how they ended Pride.
In Pride,
yeah. Which is weird, right? Because it's like Dan Henderson's not a middleweight, but he was a middleweight in Pride.
I mean,
he fought.
It's like 205 or
Wandy,
whatever.
yeah, it was 205 middle in Pride. But
Yeah.
that's how much of an MMA fan I am. Like I was like
Big time, yeah.
I was way before it was popular, following it religiously,
Yeah.
and still to this day, like. Yeah, I got the UFC app, but I'm watching EFA events in the van. Like,
I was always a Vanderlei fan. I was always a huge Crow Cop guy, so I would watch like K1.
Oh yeah.
And then when him and Vanderlei met in the Grand Prix back in like 06 or 05 or something like that.
Yeah.
When that stare down happened in the middle of the ring, I remember thinking to myself, "Oh, I will never not be a fan of this." You know what I mean? Like double negative the fuck out of this.
No, for sure. Like that is this is as cool as fucking anything gets.
Yeah,
And there's definitely been so many moments like that. I remember when Matt Serra knocked out GSP, and just like everyone in the room like was just like, what?
How big were his eyes, man? His eyes were like just pies on fucking.
And I think that MMA has really gotten to that point now where it's like. Everybody is so good and on the level so much that any given day the number 10 guy can knock out the number 1 guy. It was so rare when Matt Serra did it because there was such an easy strategy to like lay and pray, and GSP was a total lay and pray fighter.
He definitely. I'll tell you, man. In Canada, I won't lie. Like there's such a huge number of people that rallied around him because he's our guy. He's our fucking guy, big time. But by the Carlos Condit fight,
at the end,
round the last 3 or 4 bouts in his title contention there, he was definitely feeling the effects of like people booing.
But he still
and
dominated. I find like he's still like. What I don't mind is that like he would take people to a point. It was like you're not able to fight back. Like sometimes like the like again it's easy like John Fitch would like whatever, but like. I didn't feel like John Fitch would dominate opponents.
No, I get what you're saying.
The fight.
He dominates opponents like in like World Series of Fighting, but on the UFC level, like like his strategy of just like all heart and like the getting you down and kind of muscling you up, it doesn't work. And what GSP would do is he would find like he just jabbed Josh Koscheck for a whole fight. Like he would find a way to win that was like, to me it was like. When someone's playing Street Fighter and you're like, you're cheap. You're just doing a low kick. You're cheap. You know what I mean?
This guy's just
win.
But he made you look a little like silly though.
This guy's
like on some level he kind of like tore you down.
Yeah, like he's just straight up using Dawson moves.
Yeah, just low punch in the corner.
Range.
Double low punch.
Low punch. But you know what's funny? Right before you walked up just now, we grabbed at the venue. We were just talking about World Series of Fighting. I was like, WSOF and C-mart's like, yeah. I'm like, World Series of Fighting. I was like, it's owned by a guy named Ray Sefo.
Yeah, Ray Sefo.
Right?
Yeah.
And I was like, fucking, have you seen this before? Very recently, like maybe a month or 2 ago, this guy was like, hey, you want to see my seats at WSOF tonight for the card? And a bunch of people were like, yeah, sure, whatever. I'm like reading this online. And it's cool. It looks like a fucking... like what you expect, lights everywhere like that. And then he's like, yeah, check this out. And like he like pans his like shot to the far right, and it goes from like this really dark, cool looking like like a fucking fight, like a cage, to like it just gets brighter and brighter, and then it's like some preteen gymnastic, like they rented out like the corner of the gymnasium or
some magic tournament going on over there,
like some pre-Zuffa shit basically. Yeah. So when you see that as like the competition, that's why people are like, oh, you like UFC, and I'm like, well, especially with the Ariel Helwani shit last week, like I know it's all been somewhat rectified today, but when you see that they don't respect their personnel, they don't respect their infrastructure, they don't respect their fighters, they don't have any real idea that really backs up anything positive towards anyone that works with them.
Yeah.
It's very hard to support that. And it's so weird because like, I was telling this the other day, like I met Dana back in like 2011, and I like kind of missed him actually. Like he walked by and I was like, hey Dana. And he turned around and I was like, he's like, oh, hey. And he walked back to, like, he could have just said, fuck it. He came back to me, shook my hand. How you doing? You excited for the fights, all this stuff? I was like, oh, this guy's selling the card. Nice. But he was nice about it.
But does he got to sell the card, really?
I mean,
not that individuals on the street, man.
Right. You know, like, that's what I'm saying.
If you want to go, you're going to go.
So I'm like, there's this guy versus, like, what the fuck? You're kicking out Ariel Helwani for doing his job?
Yeah,
like,
man. I think a lot of it comes down to trying to maintain control in fight sports, where we've seen like the most, revered fight sport, boxing, turn to shit because fighters took control, and that's why boxing is the way it is, and there's a million different belts, and you know what I mean? Like, it's because the fighters are the ones who control who they fight, and they can pad their record, and you know what I mean? Like, it'll never happen in the UFC because the UFC doesn't let as soon as Conor McGregor gets too high, they're like, nope, we're gonna knock you down a peg. Yeah, just to let you know that you may, like, even with like the CM Punk thing and the way they're handling it, that guy has more Twitter followers than the entire UFC.
He's also undefeated.
Yeah, right. You know what I'm saying? Like,
as yet,
he's still undefeated. Respect the record.
I thought he was going to be on that 200 card.
I was actually curious when someone said Lesnar's coming back. I was like, is he fighting CM Punk? Like,
no, that would be
I know. I just seen like
murder.
What's his weight class?
That's like the Mountain versus the Viper and shit.
Hey, settle down. The Viper had a good strategy going in.
Yeah, man.
The reason, obviously we're just talking MMA because obviously you enjoy it and we all enjoy it.
Yeah.
But part of me bringing up that aerial stuff is because I feel like from a distance there are some interesting parallels in your own career because by this, and I mean,
I get texts sometimes from my King of the Dot friends that are like, yo, chill out, don't say that.
That's right. Now, right.
Because I'm on the pay-per-view just going,
blah, 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 blah.
I'm saying whatever I want.
So for people that are watching that may not be aware, Dirtbag Dan is often cited as
/ pay-per-view broadcast.
That's right. Yeah, like you're often doing post battle interviews, and you're also just really in the thick of the thing. Like you're KOTD staff essentially, right?
I think they realize. Well, yeah, definitely. Like I'm staff for the events. Like I don't work on the promotion outside of the individual events. So like I don't put together matchups. I don't plan events. I don't do like my relationship with King of the Dot is one of like they've been cool to me, and they gave us all on the West Coast like a home to battle when the grind time thing collapsed. So it was always like, up until very recently, every job was kind of just like contract 1-to-1. You know what I mean? And I'm a free agent. I work for any other league too, and that's still the case. But I, exclusively broadcast for King of the Dot. I think because it's a hard job. I don't think there's anybody else like right now that could do it because of the way the system works. Yeah. Like battling, it's an 8-hour pay-per-view. So imagine if you watched a UFC event and, half of it was Joe Rogan and Mike Goldberg talking. Like they better be saying something fucking cool or you're not going to pay for that shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So myself and Battle Rap Chris, and Chris is definitely like the fact guy. He's the guy who doesn't have like a strong bias in any direction, and that's cool because you need that, but you also need the person with like the actual ring insight and someone who's willing to just talk shit and say what like because I'll be like, no, that battle sucked, Chris.
That's right. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like, and he'd be like,
Chris,
the technical aspect of this, and you could be like, well, actually, I just I wasn't feeling those bars because like that's like whatever. Like, and that's the reason, so, like, to maybe further explain my point a little bit. Like, when you're saying, like, you're getting texts and all that, there's this weird nebulous area that we exist in right now, okay? Because we both host shows that, like, this podcast, the elevator pitch of it is this is a podcast about the entertainment industry and the personalities within it. Yeah. Boom. That's pretty blanket. I can put on pretty much anyone on this show.
Yeah, exactly. It's a broad spectrum.
So, with the Dirtbag Dan show, the tag serious or not, we are the ESPN of battle rap,
which is so false.
Like
we are not news. We are purely entertainment. Sometimes we won't even talk battling for hours.
That's true, and you guys are so entertaining. The analysis that you guys provide though throughout battles is unparalleled. There's no one out there
from battlers. That's why, and the reason, and it's not only from battlers, but it's like. the way it's set up, and that's the one thing that like I know that the reason that my podcast will have longevity within this battle rap format is because there's no other battle rapper who's doing a podcast, because there's something to be said for the blogger's perspective, but the blogger's perspective, like fools aren't going to say the same shit to like battle rap Chris that they're going to say to me. I'm going to drive different content out of them, either by, you know, insulting them or inebriating them and like bringing the wall down a little bit. You know what I mean? Like there's things that I can do because I'm a peer that the bloggers can never do. You know what I mean?
That's the thing. And like, I recognize that so much because, you know, you could see interviews and, you know, there's blogs, we don't have to name them, but like there are ones that interview battle rappers and they either like they're too eager and they go right for the fucking killer question right away, and it's like they either give you a bullshit answer or they don't give you the full or they go way too long. Sometimes you see like it's like talks about blank and it's 17-minute video and I'm like, bro, I don't need to fucking like give me, you know, like a 3-4 minute thing, whatever.
Exactly.
But like what I'm saying is you guys provide like a very serious component to that like, again, and rooted in entertainment, yes, but the seriousness of it is very important, and I recognize that in the infrastructure, and like, you know, I don't know if that ever gets like brought up to you or whatnot, but I wanted to let you know, like, that's significant, man. Like
I think the fans, like, they let me know a lot, especially on the pay-per-view. The thing about the podcast that's kind of unique that I forget is that in between like those really like us being insightful moments about battle rap, like or in between, most of the thing is just us like bullshitting and cracking jokes and little inside jokes and shit, and fools will come up to me at shows and they'll say some like shit where I'm like, how do you know that? You know,
they've been
and
listening,
then I'm like, oh shit, I forgot you listened to 87 2-hour episodes of me just talking, so you know me better than I like. So I don't like, I end up having this really instantaneously like we're homies rapport with the fans that show up to shows, because they don't walk up to me like, hey man, it's nice to meet you. They walk to me like, what's up?
Hey,
like I talk to you every week. You know what I mean? And that it is been the most beneficial part of doing the podcast as a rapper, as a comedian, as a battle rapper, everything. It made me more endearing towards the end of my battle career. Like, because people saw the way I dealt with a loss, you know what I mean? Like they saw that I manned up and I owned it, and I, you know what I mean? Like, you don't get to see that. It's not like I'm the only battle rapper ever in the world that has felt the way I felt about losing a battle.
That's right, yeah.
But I'm the only one that got to talk about it as much, you know what I mean? So like everyone knew, they're like, oh yeah, he doesn't have some illusion about himself where he thinks he's better than he is or what. It just really humanized me.
Super salty and like
Well, and battle rap is such a thing where you watch us in our like these and no matter what
it's very personal, right? Like,
and it's the worst parts of us. It's like like people will generalize us a lot. Like in public, like they'll be like, oh, they're battle rappers. Like that group of dudes is battle rappers. That's why they're loud and you know, brash and offensive. And I'm like, nah. I'm like, oh well, yeah, I guess I guess
potentially
right. Some of us.
But and then that's all it takes. You know what I mean? Like if a group of, if there's 10 of us and 4 of us are assholes, then we're all assholes. You know what I mean? So
40%'s a good number.
That's
right?
enough. That's enough to sway the vote. But I don't know. It's different, like to have that connection with your fans through the podcast than it is when they just see you in these like angry little moments. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, because like the alternative to this is that they get to know you through 3 to 5 minute clips of either music videos and whatnot, or little bit interviews and this kind of thing. Yeah. Like, again, listening to someone for 2 hours every week, you know, roughly. Yeah. That's like, I mean, some people don't even have that with like their closest friends. Some, you know what I mean? Like some people don't have that time with like
on people, some real shit, man. Right. The like at like, you know, Ron passed away.
Yeah, I didn't want to broach that.
No, fuck, that's, dude, I think about Ron every day. I talk about Ron every day. Every day I say his name. Every single day. And not even on purpose. Not even on some like, Ron, when I wake up in the morning. Like, it just comes up because he was such a part of our lives in so many different ways. But we have 10 episodes with him. So there are so many people that have come up to me and been like, thank you for giving us, 10 hours or, whatever to chill with him and listen to him and really get to know him. And even like disasters come through and fools, they're like, yo, I didn't know he was like that. Like I'll read the comments and they'll be like, oh, like they get a better idea of who he is because they only know the character. They don't know the real person.
Yeah.
Disaster being like as close to the character and the real person at the same time as anybody I've ever met in my life.
Yeah.
But definitely like I think about that, or I've thought about that a lot because of Ron, because like those moments with him are not just in my head or fucking whatever. Like everybody can have that and everybody can share that. And so like every interview we do, I think about like that. I'm like, oh, we got Del here. Like, let's talk to Del. Like and when we do, I think the thing that's refreshing is people are like, oh, he talked to Del just like he talked to Ron. Like it was the same. Like
totally, and that's exactly what I'm talking about. There is like such an equalization there amongst the dynamic that you create, and by that I'm saying like the genesis for this show even originally was I want to do production diaries for all the artists I'm producing. I wanted to have like this is what I'm doing this week, and after like 7 or 8 of these episodes, it was like, well, I got the artist in house right now. Why don't we just do an episode?
Yeah.
And then it was like, okay, next week we have this guest, and I let it evolve into like, I mean, look where the fuck we are now.
Yeah.
So
the Zen garden.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Here at Float House, which is like just totally
kombucha gardens nearby. Like,
beautiful. Wizard level 76 shit. So
definitely.
Yeah. So we're
even
like,
the water is enhanced.
Yeah. By the way, how was that?
I feel extra hydrated. I think.
We're gonna have a great show because of it.
I'm looking forward to it actually.
You just brought up Ron. I didn't want to.
No, fuck yeah. Man.
I didn't want to bring it up, but like, I never had the pleasure to meet Ron, but I'm one of these people you're talking about. Like, I never had the pleasure to meet him, but watching episodes he's in, watching any material he's involved in, gave me a different version of the character that was battling and the perception of that. Like, my first time I ever saw him battle was Caustic versus Cadalack.
Oh, which is a great battle.
One of the most classic battles in my opinion of all time. And that battle, I remember the first time I saw Caddy, when he does that first opening bar, he's like me and go together like hair, like when he does that little scheme, I immediately was like, okay, anything you say, I'm gonna listen to you.
I always thought that like the best of us were like kind of like a Polaroid of where we're from. You know what I mean? And Ron was the like he's Hollywood to me. Like it's Caddywood. Like I just think of whenever I'm in Hollywood, like the whole atmosphere of that place is so him. You know what I mean? And I think that's what people really appreciate. I think that's what people appreciate about anything. That's all I ever try to do. Like when it comes to the podcast, the comedy, the music, whatever, like I try to be authentic. I try to be genuine because that's the only thing that like separates me from anybody else. If I'm just trying to make like a dope song, or if I'm just trying to tell a joke to make you laugh, well, there's a bunch of people telling jokes to make you laugh. There's a bunch of people write dope songs. Like the only way that my work is going to have any kind of like value to someone for real is if it's, genuinely about like an experience where I've learned something or I've changed in a way or whatever. You know
Authentic,
what I mean? Like just putting it out in the world. Like I always say that like one of the best examples in modern history of authenticity in music is Bobby Shmurda. Why everyone was like this song? Why does everyone like this song? Why is this song on the radio all the time? Why is this the one that everybody picked up so fast? Because it was real. It was some real ass gangster shit, and people could sense the authenticity in the music, whether they knew it or not. They could tell that this shit was real. And then 9 months later, the whole gang gets indicted. They got 27 pistols and 9 ounces of crack. They recently were linked.
Bunch of pistols.
Dude, they were recently linked to a cement shoe murder. Like they put someone in cement boots and threw them in the Hudson. Like that's authenticity in so like obviously like I'm not cement booting people and throwing them in the Hudson, but I am like I'll dab a half gram and not even cough and you know what I mean? Like I'll roast anybody in front of me. Like the things that I am authentic about, like and the things that I have learned in my life, that's all I want to put out there through all of the different mediums that I operate in. And that's, to me, that's the best way to have a connection with your fans, to build fans in the first place, not to try and be cool, but just to be who the fuck you are.
That's right, because that's what people latch on to eventually is the authenticity.
Yeah,
like the traditional values that I think all people can really gel with is like authenticity. Can you tell if they're telling the truth? Or if it's not the truth, can you tell if at least it's coming from a
they're just gonna believe it themselves, right? Like even if you're singing about or involved in some sort of like fantasy stuff, like as long as you're telling it from a place.
That's what I was gonna say. Like fiction is fiction, right?
Exactly.
Like you can't be like real about fiction, but you could be authentic about it. You know what I mean? Like that's the difference between Game of Thrones and some like CW like enchanted ass bullshit. Like you know what I mean? Like it's CW. It's for real. Like
fuck's sakes.
I think that that's. Like nowadays, it's a lot more prevalent too, and I think that's because of artists like Kendrick Lamar and J. Cole being like the people who people strive to be in hip hop, and instead of wanting to be the guy with the most money, or instead of wanting to be the guy with the with the in the camera with the fucking shit Puff Daddy behind him and shit. You know what I mean? Like,
which is cool though.
Which back then was the coolest shit in the world. But nobody's doing that. Like nobody can afford to like rent speedboats and helicopters for music videos anymore. Exactly. So like people they go to the street and they slow pan on like homie with the dread missing and the and the blunt hanging out. And it's just like that's some real fucking shit.
Like some Data 5000 shit.
You know what I'm saying?
Even like Death Grips or whatever. You know what I mean? Like some of their videos, like or they're like really raw. Like they're not even what you would even consider videos. Like they're like barely cut together. It's just like chaos, right?
It matches the music very appropriately,
and it feels correct on some level.
And that's all. That's all you got to do. And that's what I love about rolling with Kung Fu Vampire. He's a whole his whole shit is his whole shit. It's not no one else is doing what he does. Yeah,
it's just like total. Like that's the thing. Like there's a lot of tags of like people tag you into a certain fan base or a certain genre or a certain group. They always want to box you into this little thing, and it's like I don't know, man. Like I think Kung Fu Vampire does his own thing, and I think like you're both from San Jose, and that's the connect, right? Like
yeah. So he's the first person to ever hand me a microphone when I was 16 years old and
really
come on stage and rap. Yeah,
really.
He's a little bit older than me, and he was the dude who like was recording in studios when I was rapping on the corner and shit. So I was like, I always looked up to him, and he, game recognized game. We both in a city where like there's not a lot of recognition and not a lot of like outside people looking in.
Right.
We were able to kind of make a names for ourselves in completely separate ways in our own lanes. So years together, it's like it's natural for us to come together and do tours like this because one, we get along well. So it's like you don't want to be driving across the country with fools you don't like. But two, it's like we're like tonight we're bringing a piece of San Jose to Vancouver, and he covers bases that I don't cover, and I cover bases that he don't cover. It's just like it's and that's the allure of this show. And it's also like we're both working class musicians.
That's right.
He goes and jumps as high as he can and screams as loud as he can. And he got the lights synced with the drums and the bass. It's just like we roll out the production rig.
It's a show.
Yeah, and I'm so used to rolling with rappers where it's just like put the DJ behind you and just look as cool as fucking possible on stage. And they do that shit all the way up to the top level. You know what I mean? Yeah. And Kung Fu comes from a world where like these fools are. They got bitches on stage and they're fucking throwing soda
fucking
people
drinking swords.
Yeah, it's insane.
Sword swallowing.
Drinking swords. Yeah, it's insane.
Drinking
so like
swords.
he's found a way to like, but he's also not the dude who is like, I'm gonna fucking do what these fools do because that's successful. And I think he's worked really hard to not tie himself specifically to any of the groups, but Juggalos come out and support the technicians, the Tech 9 fans that come out and support, and then all sorts of like in San Jose, like it'll be a bunch of like crazy cholo dudes that show up and support. Like he pulls anybody who's seen him live because he's one of those dudes that like tonight, like King of the Dot homies would be like, who the fuck is Kung Fu Vampire? They're gonna leave like with a shirt and be like, yeah, this shit's dope.
Fucking
you know what
right.
I mean? Like, and that's like to me, that's what I admire. Like if you're gonna go out there and put on a show, like. It ain't about you being cool. It's about you doing a job, So I'm out here to do a job. Like, all this shit is not super fun. Like, sitting in a van all day and dealing with fucking border.
It didn't sound fun.
It's not fun at all. Like,
just swapping texts. I'm like, how's it going?
But it means a lot. And the moments where I always say, like, about tours, like, the parts that... It's fun most of the time, but the parts that suck more than any of the fun parts will ever be fun.
Sure, that's true.
But at the end of the day... there's nothing like going out and making fans on a one-to-one. And you can't do it like you could get 1 million views on a YouTube video, but how many people are actually going to show up when you roll into town, you know?
That is the number one qualifiable piece of stat that you could possibly look at right now in the industry, because yes, there there are guys right now in our industry right now that are they drop a video, it gets like 5, 6, 7 million hits, and they could come to a market like this and maybe sell like 10 tickets, 5 tickets, maybe not, like, you know, or maybe they fucking sell it like the Commodore downtown or something like that, and it's just like some crazy draw, and you're just like, what? How are they fucking selling?
How is this?
No one ever comes up to me and says, have you heard this? No one ever like says my Spotify playlist is full of this guy. Like there's not, you know, but then they draw like fucking crazy. It's always such a weird mix, and this era we're in right now is so crazy for that, because there's like a true disconnect for the first time, like we're saying, where you can have like a tremendous amount of views and the fan base
following online.
Yeah, but like, okay, like the opposite is you can have a following, like a true draw where you can go market to market and you always know like,
and not have a big presence online.
That's right. And then
vice versa.
And then people will check your videos and it's like, oh, you got like 10,000 hits on your video, and they're like, well, I don't know. But then you go out and you're like, boom, you just pack like 200-300 everywhere.
Yeah,
like you'd much rather have that guy's career than fucking 7 million views on a video and like
well, the internet's so fickle, right?
City,
like a view is not like someone that has an emotional kind of connection to you, right? Like
it takes a lot more to pay to get into somewhere.
A view is 10 seconds of video, I closed it, or it could be even the full thing. It could be 10 views.
That's right.
And it
could be the full thing, and I pressed play and walked away and didn't even watch.
That's true. Actually,
but a show is like,
if you showed up to a show, you really give a shit about the shit.
You spent money.
And if you buy a shirt, then you're a fan probably for life.
Probably.
You know what I mean? And that's what we learned about touring, is that if you like can sell someone some merch, and if you go out,
I love band shirts,
then they're gonna wear that shit till it's gone. They want the people are gonna ask them about it. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
The cooler the shirt is, the more they're gonna get asked about. So like, it's definitely. That's the way. Like, that's even more than the one-to-one, because not only have you earned a fan for life, but you've earned, like, you got a billboard now too that walks around.
Yeah, I find sometimes I've gone to a couple shows recently from artists I've listened to online, and I've gone to a show. They came to Vancouver. I'm like, oh fuck, they're here. Yeah. Go to the show, and I've messaged them on Facebook. I'm like, oh, do you have shirts? And they're like, no. I'm like,
Dude, you're out of
what
your
the
mind.
fuck, man? Like, come on, what are you doing? Like,
dude, even like
I only
tonight,
I want to buy a shirt. I'm paying $20 to come to the show. Yeah, I want to spend another $20 on a shirt.
Yeah,
that's what I'm looking for, because I don't want to pay shipping. I live in Canada. It's gonna be like $50. Like, fuck you.
Anyways, like the whole like. Yeah, that's the whole way you make money on tour. I mean, like, realistically, we're hauling a van and a trailer across the country and getting hotels every night. Like, shit costs money. So a lot of the reason that we're out here is that merchandise. And Kung Fu Vampire is a prime example. If you look at his merch setup, he got everything. Right? Oh, watch when you go back over there. He got 10 different t-shirt selections. He's got 5 different hats. He's got a couple different beanies or tooks or whatever the fuck you weirdos call them out. Keep your milk in a bag. Yeah. Every time I say that, they're always
Ontario.
like, East Coast.
That's Ontario.
It's Ontario. It's not us.
Yo, I definitely drank milk from a bag.
I've definitely seen it, and I was like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, it's super weird. When you cut the edge off a milk bag, you're like, how did it come to this? What's happened? Like,
come to this?
Yeah,
what is my life?
Where I'm from, I've definitely done that.
That's your wheelhouse.
He's got hella shit, and that's how
you do it, because like,
if you don't want one thing,
even
you're gonna want something else.
That's right.
If you came last time, you can get a different shirt this time.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I got 3 shirts, and I'm feeling like a sucker out here. I'm like, I only got 3.
That's fucking. That's pretty accurate. Like honestly, I don't want to really tell the hustle too much, because like
don't sell the hustle, bro. Don't tell the hustle, you sell the hustle. You know what I'm saying?
The game is to be sold.
The game is to be sold,
not to be told.
Oh,
so
man,
I'll tell you what. Like I want to chat to you about this, because this is actually a pretty crazy accomplishment recently you just did. But I need you to help me with the venue, because I've been drinking for like 6 hours.
Comedy show.
That's
at the San Jose Improv.
Which
is it's an improv, which is great. You know what I mean? I got the rock in front of the brick wall.
Yeah,
with
what did you
improv
do
behind
there?
it.
What did you do there?
I did 20 minutes of comedy, which is the longest.
Wow, that's a long set.
It's the longest set that I've done outside of like, dude, I have some like open mic homies that run open mics, and they like recognize that I'm coming into this late, and oftentimes like if I'm doing good, they'll just let me float. And I'll be going for like 14, 15 minutes.
That's normally
and
a
I'm
bad
looking
mark.
I'm like, you dickhead. But now you're putting me in a bad spot. So I was really worried about doing 20. I was nervous about it. But
I saw the there was a couple clips that went up online, and I saw one, and you're so fucking natural at this, dude. I gotta tell you,
it's
I
easy.
recognize it.
I feel like a dick saying it, but it's fucking easy.
Wow.
The performance aspect of it's easy. On the flip side, writing jokes is super fucking hard.
That's really
so
hard.
writing jokes is super hard, but performing comedy, easiest fucking thing in the world.
It doesn't even
Keep
have
in
to
mind,
rhyme.
I'm used to rhyme. I'm used to everything having
That's
to rhyme,
interesting.
and every night you're at the Apollo, and there's another guy across from you who's gonna call you a faggot and punch you.
That's kind of
and
performance
if you spit on him, like there's rules. Like there's so many things that could like stand in your way and make your life hard in a battle. And I think that. Coming from that, you learn. You're just like, oh man, dude, you don't like my joke? I don't give a fuck about that.
Can you
Matters.
imagine? Can you imagine right now if comedy was like that? If comedy was
kinda
like
is,
two
though.
guys on stage, and like you got to tell a joke, and another guy got to tell a joke, but the other guy was berating you with his joke, like.
But the thing about comics, that's kind of that's kind of the culture of comics, is like talking shit, like bringing people down, like not in a negative
There is
sense.
a roast battle series that they do at the Comedy Store in LA, and what I read was that they actually got approved for a Comedy Central pilot. So you're probably going to see soon a Comedy Central show that's going to be comedians making fun of each other, and you might even see me on that.
That'd be
because I've been in contact with those dudes, and they know that like I come from a battle background.
Yeah, exactly.
And their videos, like their YouTube videos, get 5,000, 10,000 views. Their music videos get less than our their improv or Comedy Store battles that are hosted by or judged by Jeff Ross. I've seen them judged by Dave Chappelle. Whoever's there and shows up. These things, they get 5,000, 10,000 views max.
Yeah.
I'm like, bro, let me come out there and we'll break 100K on that bitch. You know what I mean? But then they get the Comedy Central contract. I'm like, well, they probably don't give a fuck about the YouTube views anymore.
Yeah.
Hey guys, you still want to let me come in? No, but I think that being having, not changing my name, which would have been fucking stupid because I worked so hard for people to call me a dirtbag for some fucking reason.
Dirtbag Dan.
What a dummy. But should have named myself Girth Brooks or something that I would have been proud to be called.
Isn't that weird that again in this era there's this weird fake name?
I like that. Yeah.
Do you like what are some of the ones you can nail off the top of your head? There's one I saw the other day that I was like, you've got to be fucking kidding me.
Oh, there's
there is a Girth Brooks?
No.
There's
there's a trend of taking famous names and then just switching
It's so lame.
I remember DJ Clue was like, I'm Fidel Cashflow or something.
Yeah, Fidel Cashflow.
Yeah. And I was like, all right, that's kind of cool.
Yeah,
and then
Fidel Cashflow.
But then when bands, when
name.
indie bands started naming themselves shit like that, I was
that's a
yeah, for sure, right?
Yeah, I'm like,
it's almost like
leave it to hipsters to ruin everything.
I feel like it's kind of like grasping it. You almost expect to be popular for a very short amount of time.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, your
never
name
surpass your own initial parody.
You're like the
right?
William Hungs. I don't know. I don't think we're gonna be around in 2016.
Why does latch onto this thing?
What was that in Arrested Development? It was like the Hung Jury or something like that. That was his band name in Arrested Development. It was like the Hung Jury or some shit like that.
Though.
Yeah. I like anything with hung in it. I think is
it's
a
good
rock
one.
with.
Yeah.
But the fact that I go by Dirtbag Dan and I have I do good numbers on the Instagram and the Twitter and the Facebook. So most comedians that are operating on my level, comedian wise, they don't have the same kind of internet following that I do. No. So I could hit up almost any club and be like, hey, let me get some time. And they'll look me up and go, oh, shit, all right, give them some fucking time.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
That's a big bonus.
I got to
fuck yeah. It helps me skip the line. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And as it should, right? Fuck it.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, butts and seats. I always tell the comedians will say, and we'll say to each other that I don't fucking care if you like me. Yeah. I just got to make them think I'm good. I don't fuck what y'all think. You know? What I mean?
It's this weird. again, like, it's so strange that there's like always someone who wants to try to hold you back because of like what you choose to do creatively. But realistically, it comes down to this. Like, even this show right now, it doesn't really fucking matter what we talk about. There's so many topics we can talk about, but is it entertaining? Are they staying on for the whole episode? Are they even watching at this point? This kind of thing. Like, when you commit to content like that, that's what it matters about. And like, that's something I think you have a really strong grasp of, because again, I've seen this many times in your podcast when I've like listened or watched. It'll be like just people talking about whatever, and you let it go because you know that like this is entertaining to me. I'd rather listen to this.
No, and even if they're like bagging on me, or even if like that's you have to like allow the moment to happen. You can't and you can't control every moment, bro. I can't tell you how many times I've been on the podcast like, oh, y'all are fucking my show up. It's great. All right, just keep going, guys. Keep doing it. That's fine. Totally, keep doing it. But it's like that. I also know, and I also like am reminded constantly by like Rory from the outside. It's like, yeah, that's good. That's why people watch. You know what I mean? Like, it's like sometimes people will be like, yo, you guys hate each other. Like, no, we fucking love each other. That's how we can talk to each other like that.
These guys were fucking with me last week because we were talking about our guest hates flying, and I was like, yeah, the only way I got over flying was because my fiance hated flying, so I had to kind of learn to just be the rock. So I had to like just be her rock for that, and it was just like it hung in the air for a second. It was like.
Everyone's like, oh,
I was like,
okay.
I was like, you guys are assholes. Be the rock?
The rock for it?
Right. Savedra wasn't here. Was like, it's a great story, bud. Fucking, no one gives a shit about that. I was just like, thanks, you fucking pricks. You guys are assholes. But like that kind of thing. Like, rather than being like, you guys have to respect this.
Or just change the subject real fast and then and like, no one's going to notice that. No, everybody noticed it.
Exactly.
Acutely aware.
Or bring it up the next week.
Bro, we have things like, okay, so here's a piece of information that I'll only give people that listen to this podcast.
Okay.
Because there are certain things, this is how we do shit on the Dirtbag Dan show. And we actually named it after a really shitty local battler. Things get funeral nicked. And what that means is it's so bad, or we've took it so far that we can no longer even mention it on the show anymore.
Too much.
So the last thing that got funeral nicked was Shade Wars. I don't know if you're familiar with hashtag Shade Wars. Shade Wars was like this thing where we read the YouTube comments and there was like some kind of like perceived animosity between Caustic and Reverse Live. And so like we had invented this whole thing where it's like, oh, it's the Shade Wars. And now it's like whoever gets the funnier gets to stay and have it sit in the seat. And we were just like going nuts. And then we just started
Two men enter, one man leaves.
It got bad. We were being so nasty to each other that I was like, after the Shade Wars episode, I was like, yo, Funeral Nick, we never mention that shit again. Like it's just over. Because the Funeral Nick thing, we kept talking. We were like, oh man, look how bad this guy is. And then he would send us another video and like, oh man, he's even worse. And then we're like, dude, he's not. This is how bad he is, and it's just going to keep being this bad. Like, we need to stop shining a light on this. Shut it down.
You guys making fun.
I like
of
that
Funeral
name
Nick.
though, Funeral Nick.
Yeah. These guys making fun of Funeral Nick is some of the best stuff on the internet.
But we had to just stop because it was so like he was just going to keep sending us shit. It was like poking a bear. You know what I mean?
It was like a fetid bear. It's like no, the bear. It's too much.
Yeah.
You guys actually Dana White'd that shit and controlled the message.
Yeah, that's what you got to do, bro. That's what you got to do.
Speaking of controlling the message, I just wanted to, I think. We'll probably release you from your earthly duties here. I don't want to take up more time than we got.
Yeah, man. You know what I want? I want a beer.
Yeah.
I drink a lot more on tour than I do at home. I'm not like a big drinker. I'm typically more of a smoky guy.
We've been drinking since about 3 because I think when we talked originally, I was like, when are you coming through? And I was like, okay, well, I want these guys to be ready.
Yeah.
And then it was like, okay, border crossing, and I was like, okay, cool.
This could take a while. And it did.
We've done a good lap.
Did you get
around
fucked over down there?
Yeah.
Oh, no, we just got they just give you the good old check.
Old once over,
They give you the good once over. We had to like declare merch and they had to count our shit to make sure.
They really got into it?
I mean, they opened the tubs. I'm sure they didn't break it out and count, but they needed to make sure that like we weren't like doubling or halving our numbers. I don't think there was any stress off of like any one of us having any kind of criminal shit going on, because if there was, it would have been longer.
Yeah, you would have. Yeah.
It was cool. It was cool, bro. And we get into the country and everyone's like, yeah, boy. So, man, we're here and we're in Canada till the 26th. We go all the way from here, Vancouver, all the way as far as Toronto, I think.
Nice.
Okay. Grand Bend, Ontario is our last day in Canada before we dip back into and do like Omaha, Nebraska, and a couple dates in Colorado and go home. But we hit almost every major market. I don't know if there was like
no Quebec.
There is no Quebec and no Scotia. Like we don't go that far.
Okay.
But I think we might miss like, I don't know if there's a Manitoba date. I think.
What about like Detroit? Do you hit like Windsor, Detroit?
No. We see it. This is all. It's all Canada. So like we're not doing any. The only dates dates that we did.
I see. Okay.
We did a few on the way up, Pacific Northwest, and then we do Omaha, Nebraska, Greeley, Colorado, and Denver, Colorado on the way home, and then we're just dipping back in because I think Kung Fu goes back out in a month and a half or 2 months, and he's doing like 60 dates in the United States.
Oregon and Washington State are pretty much Canada anyway.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. The Pacific Northwest just
good states. They're good states. They're better
I've had so much fun already, and the tour just started, and I'm knowing that, you know, like the Canadian leg of this tour is just going to be extra special for me because, like I said, I haven't had an opportunity to go to, like, I've never been to Saskatoon. You know what I mean? Like, there's so many places that's like where people are like, oh, you got to go there. That's where shows crack. But you know, like, it's not like King of the Dots throwing battles there, so I'm not out there.
No, exactly. Mm-hmm. And like, you know, for what it's worth, I'll make sure we throw up all the tour dates up on.
Yeah, for sure. And then kungfuvampire.com,
of course,
all the information, and you could get tickets and all that good stuff.
And how can people follow you, sir?
Dirtbag Dan 408 on everything. On everything. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram's Dirtbag Dan 408.
Do you know how much I love uniform social media?
Yeah, man. It's a big deal. It's a big deal.
My good friend C-mart over here. Bit of a running gag here. How can people follow?
It's not a thing.
Wouldn't bother?
No.
Don't bother.
They just don't.
He says don't bother.
It just says don't bother. I like that, man.
It says that on all of our episodes, like all the information. Yeah, like how do you follow these people?
Don't bother.
Don't bother, C-mart.
Okay, cool.
If you guys want to follow the podcast, you want to go to intergalacticinterviews.com. We're available on Spotify and YouTube and iTunes and SoundCloud and Stitcher and goddamn, you've got it.
All the good ones.
And if you want to follow
anything
me,
you want, anything you need.
Yeah, everything you need. If you want to follow me, you can follow me at MD_Boomsday, and that as well as Uniform right across the board. That's Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat. That's how you do her. Sir, this is a goddamn pleasure. I'm so happy.
Hey, it's been a good time. Thanks for having me in this like super zenned out studio and giving me super powered hydro water.
Yeah, you guys want to do a quick float after this?
Big quick float.
90-minute float.
Just get a little float going before the show. You know, really relax your bones.
Look, I've never seen a set so.
I always talk. I always like. I'm a big. You know, have you ever seen the video where I eat the magic truffles in the battle? So like, obviously, like I'm a registered psychonaut, and I would love to float. I would love to do an enhanced float.
California seems like float fucking capital.
Seems dangerous. Seems like an enhanced float could be dangerous. But I'm willing to take the risk.
Yep. I'd love to facilitate that. You let me know.
All right.
Dirtbag Dan, you're the fucking king, dude. Ladies and gentlemen, we love you guys. Thank you very much for listening, and we will see you.